Thank you for tuning into this Tuesday morning classroom session. My name is Noah. I'm one of the educators with Shortcuts, and today we're going to be looking at using the point of sale. This is the second part of our point of sale classroom session. Today we're going to be looking at some more advanced features. So if you're new to Shortcuts, if you're a new hire, or you're a manager and you haven't used some of the settings in Shortcuts, some of the basic settings, you might want to review one of our earlier presentations. Today, we're going to be focusing on things that are outside of the standard checking out services, checking out products. So with that said, let's actually go through some of the basics. So this presentation is going to be about 30 minutes, give or take. We will allow time at the end to answer some questions. So of course, hopefully you can hear me. I have my microphone on, we are recording, and if you have to drop out, that's fine. We will send you a link of this recording a little bit later today, or vice versa. If you're watching this later today and you have a question, you can always reach out to us. All right, so we're always checking our social media. So if you ask us a question on Facebook or Instagram, we will get back to you. So the topics for today, point of sale. In the previous classroom session, we looked at some of the basics. How do we check customers in? How do we check customers out? How do we sell services or products and change who gets credit for performing a service or upselling a product? This time around, we're going to talk about how does the staff actually track the back bar, the professional use products? If you sell gift certificates, how do you sell them? How do you track them? If you're using petty cash from the register, how do you keep track of that? And of course, last but not least, does your salon or spa or barbershop take deposits, whether it's for a wedding party or whether it's for hair extensions and the customer has to pay half of it upfront? How do you take the deposit and how do you work with accounts? So with that said, let's talk about tracking back bar. So normally in Shortcuts, most of you are familiar with selling products. In the point of sale, you can scan in a barcode if you have a barcode scanner. You can search for a product. But at the end of the day or at the end of the week, when you have empty color tubes, empty bottles of conditioner, and you want to make sure that you're taking them out of inventory, then you want to scan those out. Now I'm going to pause for just a second. Somebody has a question right now. I have no sound. Um, I'm going to ask, maybe it's just Terry's system. Can anybody else hear me? I'm going to check my microphone. Stand by. Let's see. Testing. I'm going to, okay. Cassidy can hear me. Okay. Okay. It seems like it was perhaps dropping in and out for a little bit. Han says that it was clipping in and out. So hopefully Terry can hear me. All right, let's go back to the presentation. So as I was mentioning, normally in the point of sale, you can scan products, you can choose the employees that are selling the products, but at the end of the day or at the end of the week, you want to make sure that you're also keeping track of any back bar that you used. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be an actual professional product. If one of your staff members just took a regular retail bottle of shampoo off the shelf to use with a customer, we of course want to be able to scan that as well. So what we would advise, at the end of the day, after you've checked out all of your customers, you want to account for any back bar that you used. So to do that, you always need two things. You need an employee that gets credit for this and a customer that this history is being saved against. And both of those are actually the same thing. So in the point of sale, on the top left corner, and I'm actually going to get out of the presentation for a second and show you. So in the point of sale, on the top left corner, you're going to go to the Clients button. And if you press the Delete button at the top center of the screen, your very first customer is hashtag business. So we'll choose business as our client and then press Done. The second thing you need to do is tell Shortcuts which employee is performing the checkout. And in that case, when we click the Employee button, the employee is also the business. So once I do that, then Shortcuts asks me, okay, what exactly did the staff use today? And I'll just choose a couple of products. So maybe these three American Crew items. I'll press done, and if you look carefully at the point of sale, something's going to change. The prices have all been set to 0 because Shortcuts knows you're not buying these again, you're just taking them out of your inventory, so it zeroes them out. So if I were to press end sale, then Shortcuts will deduct one of these bottles out of my inventory. So remember, at the end of the day or at the end of the week, make sure you're counting all of those items. So let's go back to the presentation. And there is an inventory report that will show you all of the professional products that were scanned out to business, if you're just curious as to how many of those were. So if you go to your reports, you go to inventory, you're looking at professional use products. Okay, so start using that if you're not already. Now, what about alternate payment types or selling gift certificates? So in the point of sale, of course, you can accept cash or check or debit or credit card, depending on how your business is set up. But of course, you also want to be able to sell gift certificates, whether it's to a regular customer or a regular customer wants to give a gift. So you have to set up gift certificates in the point of sale in the system. And those, for most Shortcuts Fusion customers, for most Shortcuts point of sale customers, are already configured. So when you click one of the blank rows in the middle of the screen, when you get a pop-up window, you may have the button that says Sundry, or you may have the button that says Gift Card. Both of those buttons actually take you to the same screen. It says, what are the alternate things the customer wants to buy? And you'll notice by default in Shortcuts, you have 3 versions of the gift certificate. There's Open Value A, and Open Value B. Technically, it doesn't matter which one you choose. You can choose Open Value B and tell Shortcuts this gift certificate is worth $50 or $100. The reason there are 3 different open values is because if a customer says, I'd like to buy a $25 gift certificate and I'd like to buy a $50 gift certificate, when that happens, that's when you choose 2 open values, okay? So you'll choose open value, then open value A, until Shortcuts one is worth one amount, one is worth another amount. That's why you have multiple options. So in the point of sale, you'll choose a gift certificate or multiple, you'll choose a quantity, and you'll set the price. So when the customer checks out, and we'll actually do this in the point of sale so that you can see how these steps actually look. So when the customer checks out, Shortcuts will actually ask you after the customer pays, what is the number or the barcode or some sort of way I can track this particular gift certificate. So if you're working with a local printer and you ask them, I need you to print me 200 gift certificates on this plastic or on this cardstock, and I want you to put a random barcode on the back of all of them. So as the customer pays, when you press end sale, you'll scan in that barcode or you'll type in that number. And then Shortcuts will remember what the value was on it. And when the customer returns to pay with the gift certificate, you'll be able to search or type in that particular number. So that's using a gift certificate. So in the point of sale, the gift certificate button, it's the little alternate payment button. It looks like a little gold stamp next to the credit card button, and you'll choose gift certificates. And you'll either scan or type in the number that the customer brought in. Any remaining balance will remain on the card, or Shortcuts by default will deduct whatever the entire amount is. So before we talk about petty cash, let's actually see that in action in Shortcuts. So in the point of sale, I'm going to undo this professional product that was checking out, and instead, I'll say one of my regular customers comes in, I'll click a blank row, and I'll say the business is selling a gift card or a sundry. So either button works. Remember, sundry is any income for your business that's not exactly a product, not exactly a service. Gift certificate is the best example. So this customer wants a $50 gift certificate. So I'll press open value. And then the customer says $50 on it, please. So in this instance, the customer will pay cash. So once the customer pays, when I press end sale, this is where Shortcuts asks me, what was the tracking number on that gift certificate? So I'll flip the card over and read off the number, type it in, and now Shortcuts knows, okay, there's a card out there with $50 on it. When a customer returns, and again, it doesn't have to be the customer that purchased this gift card. I'll say Ben here. Ben comes in, he gets a haircut. Perhaps Jay did a haircut. There we go. And Ben's going to pay with his gift card. So on the bottom left corner, again, it's next to the credit card button. I'll choose the gift card, gift certificate, and this was his number. So he still has $27 left on it. So I'll press done. And now Shortcuts asks me, does he want to book his next appointment? Not right now. We'll just end the sale. So it's very easy to sell, track gift certificates, and redeem them. So now let's jump back to the presentation. So we're talking about working with petty cash. So in the previous presentation, we talked about performing a start of day, performing an end of day, but what if your salon also allows the staff or perhaps your receptionist to take petty cash out of the register, whether they have to run to the store to buy something or they're going to pay the window washer money out of the register? How do you track that? So from the point of sale screen, you're going to go to the no sale button on the bottom right corner and press take petty cash. So the only rule with working with petty cash, especially if you want to make sure that everything balances at the end of the night, is make sure to return petty cash at the end of the night. Now, this does not mean you're going to return the change or you're going to return the full amount. You're just going to account for anything that was actually used. So if you took $20 from the register earlier that day, at the end of the day, when you press return petty cash, you're going to tell Shortcuts, what did you buy with that money? And was there any change left over? If there was, Shortcuts will ask you to return the change. If you forget to do this step, then the outstanding petty cash will roll over to the next day and the next day and the next day. So I've actually had shops and salons that have at one point in the past taken petty cash out and their counts are off for months and months on end and they can't figure out why. And I say the first thing you'll want to check is petty cash. And sure enough, we'll find that somebody took $15 or $20 months ago and they just forgot to tell Shortcuts that they used all of the money. There was no change left over. So keep that in mind. So that's one way to take petty cash, to track petty cash. But let's say you or one of your staff members actually goes to the beauty supply on the way to work and they use their own money to buy a product. Then what they would do is they'd like to get their money back from the petty cash. So the alternate way to do this, again in the point of sale, you're going to press the clients button. One of your other options in Shortcuts is hashtag expense. So when you do that, Shortcuts will ask you or ask your staff, what did you buy? How much did you pay? So the staff member can choose this was a professional product or this was a cleaning product, or I actually bought some food for the staff this morning and this is how much I spent. And when they press end sale, the register should pop open and let the employee get their cash back from the register. So Shortcuts again will keep track of what was used that day. So recording a deposit. Before we talk about this, I'm again going to show you in the actual Shortcuts point of sale how petty cash works. So a live demonstration in the Shortcuts point of sale on the bottom right, no sale. If you allow your staff members to do this, and this is controlled by security, you're going to press Take Petty Cash. And in this instance, I'll take $20. Now, I don't have to immediately tell Shortcuts I spent all 20 or I only used a portion of it. It can be hours later. And in fact, another staff member can take more petty cash. Shortcuts will keep track of all of the outstanding petty cash. But before the end of the night, I want to return to no sale. And you'll notice there's a new button, Return Petty Cash. So when I choose it, Shortcuts will say who was the employee, what day was it, how much did they take. So that was me. I'll press Done. And on this window, Shortcut says, what did you buy? I went to the store, got some professional products. I'll add it. How much did I spend? I didn't spend all 20. I only spent $14.50. Did I buy anything else with the petty cash? In this case, I'll say no. This is the only thing I bought. So I will press Done. So when I press End Sale, Shortcuts will ask me, okay, please return the change, $5.50, to the till and deposit any receipts. Because I can't modify this expense after the fact. So I'll do that. I'll return the change and leave my receipt in there. So now Shortcuts recognizes I'm out $14.50 from today, as far as petty cash goes. If I had bought something on the way into the shop earlier today, instead, I can go to the Clients button and just tell Shortcuts I had an expense. What did I buy? I got some food for the staff, perhaps some coffee, and I spent 12 bucks. So now when I press End Sale, the register pops open and I can take my $12 to be reimbursed. So those are two ways of tracking petty cash. So now back to the presentation. So now working with accounts, working with deposits. So if you are allowing customers to leave a deposit with you, maybe they're going to leave a deposit with their kid so their kid can get a haircut on the way home from school every couple of weeks, or you're performing an extension services and you require the customer to leave a minimum $200 or $300 deposit so that you can order the hair. So in either case, you're going to enable accounts in the point of sale. So this is a setting that may not be turned on for you by default. So you do have to go under Setup Configuration, and under Sales, you're going to add Account as a payment type. And under Point of Sale, you're going to tell Shortcuts, I'm going to allow customers to pay off an account. So once you do that, in the point of sale, when you click on a blank line, and you can normally choose a service, a product, or a sundry, you'll also have a little briefcase button that says Account. So you'll press that button and you'll tell Shortcuts, how much is the customer going to put on the account? How much are they going to deposit? You'll put in that amount, and normally the employee that gets credit for this is the business, not a staff member. Then you'll choose how the customer paid for this, cash, credit card, or they wrote you a check, whatever it is. Then you'll press End Sale, and Shortcuts will remember this customer left me a deposit of this amount. When they return and they want to use money out of their account, Shortcuts will actually show you whether they have a green or a red ledger. So at the point of sale, you'll actually see a little green checkbook next to their name, and it says, this customer has $100 available on their deposit, for example. When the customer wants to use some or all of that money, when you go to the payment types, you'll have a little briefcase button, an account button, next to your gift certificate button. So you'll press that and you'll say the customer is using what amount from their deposit. Are they using all $100? Are they only using a portion of it? And then when you press End Sale, the remaining balance stays on their account. So it's very similar to gift certificates. Now, the other way you can actually use accounts is to show what the customer owes you. So in the event that you have a regular customer and they've been seeing you for years, and you know they're good for paying, but for whatever reason they forgot their wallet that day. So you can say, okay, well, I'm going to check it out for right now, and I'll put the money on account. So Shortcuts will remember you owe me this amount the next time you visit. So in this case, it actually puts their account on a red ledger, and it shows you how much they owe you. So when the customer comes back to pay their balance in the point of sale, you'll choose a blank row, you'll choose the account button, and then Shortcuts by default will put in the amount they owe you and ask you, are they paying cash, check, credit card, debit card? And that way it will clear out their ledger, their account. So that is yet another payment type or another way to accept deposits or accounts in the Shortcuts point of sale. A number of salons, spas, and barbershops don't really use accounts, but if you're interested in using that, we can always enable it. So today, we've covered some more advanced features in the point of sale. You should now know how to track your back bar. You should now know how to actually sell and redeem gift certificates. You should know how to work with petty cash, how to track it, and how to take a deposit and work with accounts in Shortcuts point of sale. So this brings us to the question and answer period. So of course, we do upload our webinars on our webpage. If you just want to cut to the chase, you can visit us on YouTube. We are at Shortcuts USA. Every classroom presentation we've had, every workshop that we've done, every webinar we've presented is all available on our YouTube channel at Shortcuts USA. So if you have any questions on anything we covered this morning with regards to point of sale, go ahead and ask, and I'll give you a moment, and I'll bring up the question window on my side. Hopefully, Terry was able to solve the audio problem. If you're watching this presentation after the fact, if you get the link later today and you have a question on setting up accounts or you don't see a certain feature, reach out to us. Let the help desk know, let customer care know, let the education team know. We will get back to you. We've been here through the entire pandemic. So Shortcuts doesn't rest just because some locations are under lockdown, because like most of you, everybody is really preparing to reopen. So you want to make sure your system's configured and ready to use. Okay, we've got a question here. Let me bring up the question. And it looks like Ken is asking, what is the question? At the end of day balance. So is it a question of how does gift certificates or how does petty cash affect the end of day balance? Ken? Okay, so he says, yes, that's the question. So how does petty cash, how do accounts, how does all of that affect the end of day? So let's actually look at that. So a moment ago, I had a customer that bought a gift certificate, paid with a gift certificate. But let's do two other things. So we've also done petty cash. The only thing we haven't done yet on this register is take a deposit. So Jay shows up and the business is going to accept a deposit from him. So he's going to ask, he's going to put $100 on his account and he's going to pay with a credit card. And it was a Visa. So I'll press end sale. So Jay has just deposited $100 into his account. So now when Jay returns, so Jay wants to pay with his haircut or color with money on his account. So the next time he visits, and I'll choose him again, and you can see he has a green ledger with $100 owed to him. So when he comes back and we'll say, Megan did a haircut. Also, he got a product perhaps Paul Mitchell, and some conditioner and some shampoo. So he has money on his account and he'd like to use it. So on the bottom left corner, you'll notice we have the briefcase button, the account button. So he has 100, he has more than enough to pay for this service. So we can press the button and Shortcuts will ask, does he want to use this amount for his account or does he only want to use a portion and the rest is going to go on his credit card? In this case, he's going to use his deposit. So when I press End Sale, Shortcuts will remind me I'm running out of conditioner and shampoo. I should order some more. But on Jay's client card, it's actually going to show he now has paid with some of that from his initial deposit. So I'll click on his card again, and he has $32 left on his account. So on our test database, our test database here, we've done some petty cash, we've done a return of petty cash, we've done taken a deposit, and we've also sold a gift certificate. So what you didn't see is before this presentation started, I did a start of day. And in my register, I said I had $100 in the register. So when I go to end my day, oh, and Ken had one more question before we continue. So IOU on the account will show negative 26. That's correct. If in this case Jay wanted to pay for everything and he had $0 in his account, I can still use the account button on the bottom left corner, the payment type, but instead of the green ledger, it'll be a red ledger and it'll say he has negative $64 in his account. So he owes you the next time he visits. Oh, Katie, I'll show you in just a second how to add professional products into Shortcuts. So we're going to do an end of day. So I'll go to transactions, and on the bottom, I'm going to now close my register. So I'll press end of day. Shortcuts shows me this was my original float from this morning, $100. That's correct. And I would do a count. Now I'm going to put in just some random numbers here. I know this count is going to be off, but I'll fix it in a second. So Shortcut says, okay, this is what I counted, this is what I expected. So as long as I've been using petty cash correctly, account correctly, and gift certificates correctly as payment types, everything should balance out at the end of day. So let me correct my cash. It should be $123.50. So everything was entered correctly and counted correctly. So now I can close out my register and I know I'm $23 over my usual float. That's the amount I'll deposit tonight. So I'll finish my end of day. Now, Katie has a question. So some of you may not have professional products in your inventory screen. So you'll want to go to inventory. And if you're not tracking this, this is how you add it into your system. Ken, I'll answer your question in just a second. It's regards with end of day tips. So for Katie, we're going to go to inventory and products. So normally you see a list of all the companies, all of the lines, all of the products. The first thing you'll want to add when you're looking at this window, at the very, very top of the screen where it says sell tax, current, maximum, minimum, if you right click on the very top header, the column headers, I want you to go down to properties and choose retail. So now when you choose a certain company, American Crew, and let's say I add a new product. So I'll add all-in-one conditioner. And this one is actually a 2-liter bottle. And that's my back bar. So on the right side, after I put in whatever my actual buy price is, so maybe that's $30, and I don't sell it, so I'll leave that alone. But on the right, I can now set this as professional use only. Now, if you have something that you happen to use as back bar as well as retail, then in that case, just leave it as retail. But anything like color, anything like that, make sure you mark it as professional. And anything that shows up as professional will not be available for customers to buy at the point of sale. Only the business can check this out. Something to also consider, Katie, when you're doing this, you may decide that you want to add a special line just for your back bar. So I'll choose the American Crew Company. Actually, I'll probably choose Paul Mitchell. So I'll choose Paul Mitchell and press new. And I'll say the new line is color. So now that I have a line that is nothing but professional products, I can tell Shortcuts everything I add to this line from now on will only be professional. So then when I click on color and I add a new specific color, I'll put in whatever that number is. I'll put in my barcode. And now you can have a library of back bar only. And you'll just set it to all. It's easier, as far as I'm concerned, not to just filter down one or the other. Just leave it to all so that you can actually see what's your retail, what's your professional. Okay, I hope that helps you, Katie. Ken had a question, end of day tip. So will Shortcuts only allow the stylist to see only their tip or everyone? Good question, Ken. If they have permission to look at the tips report, then it will allow them to see everybody's tip. So that's usually one report that's okay to share with the staff. They know how much they should take out for themselves. They know what the staff should take out if you wait until the very end of the day. Okay. Are there any other questions with regards to end of day or point of sale? And again, if you're watching this video after the fact, we're going to send you the link a little bit later today. Just reach out to us, education or your customer care rep, and we will get back to you. So let me bring up the presentation again, and let me share some numbers with you. So you can reach us, you can reach me, I'm at education@shortcuts.net, or of course reach out to us on Facebook or Instagram, and just call us anytime. Remember, the help desk is also here 24/7. So thank you all for attending. I look forward to seeing you on the next classroom session. Have a great day, everybody.